Would it be valuable to you to be able to build and grow your professional network remotely? Imagine your LinkedIn boosting with new global connections. Would that benefit your business? Exactly, right? And today we're going to be diving deep into this with our special guest, Catherine Castillo, who is an expert at building professional global networks remotely. So I'm awesome, Angie Engstrom.
And I'm GITTE. So welcome to Momentum Makers podcast, Catherine. We're so thrilled to have you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Angie and GITTE.
Thank you. You know, we were looking forward to it. We're sure you're going to be sharing so much gold with our audience. So let's go.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to do a short bio for those of you who don't know Catherine already. Catherine actually, she wears a lot of hats. She's helping startups in Asia. She's spearheading the tech venture Codertail. And today we'll also be talking about Catherine's expertise at leveraging platforms like LinkedIn, virtual events, online forums, virtual coffee chats, to connect with industry leaders and establish your expertise, thereby expanding your global network. You can also accelerate your learning and increase your flexibility in networking. So amazing. I'm looking forward to this episode, that's for sure. So welcome once again, Catherine. Happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, welcome to Momentum Makers podcast. So, Catherine, if let's start off first of all, like just a really short version of what is your business? Who are the people, the business owners you're helping out there? What's the work you're doing in the world?
Sure. So the newest one actually it's called Codertal. If you wonder how we ended up having this name, it's Coder Talents. So it's a short name for Coder Talents. This company started years back, and we do have minimal presence in Europe and the US, but we also thought that with the clients that we've already accumulated and have in our portfolio, we already have the big one, we already have the big four consulting firms rather. We also have worked with like a luxury perfume brand, hotels, so on and so forth. And so we thought maybe it's reasonable for us to expand to the US and the Nordics, right? So that's what we're currently doing right now. So if you ask what Codertal is, Codertal, basically what we do is we provide an IT expert hire. So like, let's say you're a business, and usually for businesses, you have a tech department, right? And if you have a tech department and you have a project, sometimes there would be projects where you need to rush and you need more people, you need more hands in order for you to meet the deadline. So we do have the IT experts for that. We currently have, I think, about 50,000 in our pool. And, our projects can range from a company can need from one IT expert to 100 in one go, and we could provide these experts in order for them to get their business done and of course to scale their business towards success. So that's what Codertal does. There are other fronts, there are other sections of the business, but I would like to focus on Codertal being the provider of IT experts for your business.
That's amazing because you're in this space of startups, which is really cool. So,
Right.
what inspired your entry into pioneering leadership within this startup ecosystem?
I mean, I'd like to say that it's something innate, but I had been this type of person who, well, I don't like to be put in a box. So when someone gives me a traditional answer, I'm usually that, no, okay, that answer is it's a given answer. Let me think of something else. So I usually am an unconventional thinker, and I feel like the startup eco space gives me that room to, to think the way that I think. So it's more of an enabler to be myself. I think that would be the easiest way to explain it, because as you know, the startup ecosystem, you need the agility, you need to think unconventional and to think out of the box, right? And it's not for everyone, and I think it just fits me because I feel like I'm the type of person who gets energized but by this kind of environment, so to speak. I actually graduated Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and then I took my licensure exam. I became a nurse, and I continued studying, my cohorts for pre-med. But at the same time that I was doing that, well, actually, I'm still studying nursing, like not nursing courses rather, every now and then. But this is all the way back to when I was in my early 20s. So I worked for a pharmaceutical firm, and there was a project that no one did, that no one wanted to take because it was too technical, and I think that time people, I guess my conclusion would be they were tech averse, so to speak. But like I said, I like the challenge, and so I took that, and I just got hooked because of the process that I need, that I had to go through in order for me to create that project. So that project meant that I had to deal with developers. I had to deal with the software team, and to create like an in-house product, like a CRM of some sort, to monitor our field sales managers, to monitor the medicines that they dispense and sell, their notes, so on and so forth. So I contributed to that company by actually creating a tool in order for them to manage their business efficiently. And so I think I just got hooked. Then I just went straight to like working for startups. In my years of experience, I ended up working for startups, or alongside really intellectual, like intelligent rather, or wise, hardworking people that I just enjoyed working with them. So if you check my portfolio, the startups that I worked for, and my contribution rather, is I'm part of that pioneer leadership. And I like that idea because it gives you the chance to exercise your thoughts, your knowledge, and everything that you have accumulated in your years of experience, right? And it's kind of like a baby if you think about it, because you literally monitor, or you start something from the ground up, and so the ins and outs by the time that it's ready to be out there. And I think there's a side of me that feels fulfilled when that happens, and I've felt it, and I've been in that situation for more than maybe twice, thrice, because of these startups that I had been part of.
That's amazing, because I have no knowledge of startup anything. So in terms of what you're speaking of, so it sounds like you said, there's like an ecosystem of this startup. Like that's a whole new thing to me. I don't know. How about you, GITTE?
Yeah, it's new to me too. Now, I was thinking about Coda. Could I ask a question about that?
Yes, go ahead.
I was sort of thinking, is it like outsourcing? You have a lot of people in your network who you can sort of outsource these assignments for and help other companies, or
Yes. So whenever a company needs to outsource these experts, we have a pool of the experts that they're looking for.
Mm,
And when I say experts, I mean, tech is such a big word these days. And so you need someone, back-end developer, a front-end, someone who's an expert in AWS, those type of like terms. And so we have these people in our pool already. And so if there's a business who actually wants to start from scratch, to finish a project, to relieve someone, maybe like maybe 5 developers got sick for some reason and they need to finish a project immediately, then we can help them by actually providing these experts for them. And the good thing about Codertal is that, some people, they would tie you up, right? Okay, well, okay, we can provide you the expert, but we're tying you in for a year. But the good thing about our company is that we only provide you the experts based on your needs and based on your, the time that you need them. So if you say you need them for a month, 3 months, 5 months, then we will adhere to it. If you need 1, 10, 100, there was even a time before that like a company needed 100 in one go, and we were able to provide it. And I think that also creates this sense of confidence to us that, okay, well, if we can do this, we can definitely like do it for other companies as well. And so right now we're trying to tap not just smaller business, but rather corporations as well.
mm.
I find it fascinating because your background's nursing, to be
Yeah.
able to nurture and care for and provide the needs, of people in nursing, and you're doing the same kind of thing for businesses on the tech side, which
Mm,
it's just so unique. That's awesome. I love that.
it really is. Yeah.
I was also gonna say that I consider myself a multi-hyphen mind. Like I do have a multi-hyphen mindset wherein, so you know how it is before when you're, when you end up studying college and you study maybe psychology, the expectation is you become a psychologist, you work as a psychologist all your life. But a multi-hyphen mindset allows you to think not just a single track, but rather multiple tracks, right? So in my case, I'll give an example. So like nursing, I really love the idea of hosting people, caring for their needs, but at the same time, in order for you to care for their needs, you need to diagnose, and you need to diagnose based on the precipitating and predisposing, which means something that is already genetic or innate with them and something that is environmental in order for you to diagnose. And these are things that you technically do for a business if you think about it. So it's not like it's competing, but rather you have the skills, you actually sharpened or developed skills in a certain field that you're able to use in another. And so you can have both if you think about it. And another example, I would just like to talk about something. Right now, my sport is pole fitness. So I do, pole sport, static, exotic, so all types of like um, pole variations. And I've done this for like 4 years. The reason why I ended up being in pole is because I'm a rescue diver. So I'm a certified rescue and search and recovery diver. And I just got used to, in the Philippines or in the tropical countries, you have this luxury of people carrying your bags, your equipment, your BCD, everything, right? But I'm not that kind of person, to be honest. I want to be able to carry my own bag, my own weight. And so I said, well, I have to be stronger for this because it means if I'm going to be diving for long stretches, then it means I would have to carry my own thing, especially if it's a shore dive, like a shore dive, like wherein you just have to walk from the shore down, right? And so if you know what I mean, it's like, so I have to find something that is not hiking, but rather something that complements my diving, which is pole fitness, but that also creates my stamina endurance rather, in order to have this type of schedule where, you just do different things. So all I'm saying is like, I know that I started off with nursing as a course. I ended up being a nurse. I'm not letting that go, by the way, because I'm still doing my cohorts. I want to keep it fresh, but there's, where you start, actually, if you let it contribute to where you are, I think you can make that happen. And that's what I did. So
Yeah, I really love this way of thinking. And I think that's what we need in this world we're living in. We need people who can do not just the same thing all their lives, but do different things and sort of use the skills they have for something in something else. So I think this is really important. Mhm.
thank you.
I was hoping we could have a little bit into networking also.
Right.
Would you share your journey of how you started building and maintaining a professional network?
Sure. So you know what, I could start off with my personal life. So my family, I was born and raised in the Philippines. My family emigrated to the US. Right now I'm in Sweden, and in between, like, let's say for the last 16 years, I've lived and moved for love, family, work, etc. And that also means that I would have to communicate to my colleagues, my family, my relationships, in a manner that I could get a message across, right? And so I thought that if I were to live this type of lifestyle, and the easiest way to explain it is more of a remote lifestyle, then it also means that I have to take it as more of my reality ground, which is, if you're in your real, like in your space right now, Kitty, you go out, you meet someone, you say hi, hello, but this is more digital, right? And so for me, I thought, okay, maybe I should, it's just a thought that maybe if that would be the case, then I have to be good at this, because this is the lifestyle I chose, which means I'm going to be away from my family, for months or years. And in terms of the ventures that I had before, when I moved here, during the COVID, that was over 4 years. But, then it means I would have to communicate with my stakeholders, with my peers and colleagues remotely. So I guess if to go back to your question, like my journey really started from my personal life, wherein I realized that, well, this is gonna be my lifestyle, so might as well be good at it. And of course, it definitely showed in my professional life, wherein, like you said, I do have ventures in Asia, and I'm following that time zone. I'm also in here, and I'm trying to expand a business in the Nordics and in the US. And so I just feel like it's part of my life, so to speak. I am an introvert, so I'm an introvert. And if you think about it, people would think if you're an introvert, then maybe you don't enjoy networking. But actually, no. The reason why we have to find our strengths, so to speak. So I think the strength of an introvert is like you value authenticity, right? You value genuine relationships. And so I use that as a tool to actually network. So which means, you know, maybe I'm good at one-on-ones. And so I use that, I take advantage of that. Like, I know my personality, I'm an introvert. I know how to use it to my advantage in order for me to meet people who you know, who are not like just more like me, but rather meet people who can meet me where I am as well. So, you know, just bits and pieces of that. And then along the way, I learned how to use LinkedIn, emails. I don't know if you know Slack. So these are tools that, you know, could help you communicate with your team on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. I mean, FaceTime is also there. And but it's not just about the tools, right? You kind of want to have this personal, you know, like a touch of some sort. So I learned that I learned like another, like I learned that it's not just about the tool, but how you use the tool. So if, like, let's say in real life, you end up having coffee to talk about how's your day been, or, you know, what are your lowlights, your highlights for today, etc. Right? Then you can actually do that with, I realize I can do that with your team, but literally have coffee, you know what I mean? Like make it more,
Mm,
like I say, it's just a screen in
mm,
between, to kind of to add that personal touch. So again, it's not just about the tools that you know, the tools you will realize along the way that it's available, but it doesn't stop there. It's how you maximize it and make it, you know, make it, use it to your advantage, so to speak. So, yep, bits and pieces there as to how I started. And yeah, I hope that
So,
answers your question in a way, Kitty.
so
yeah,
being
thank you.
an introvert, how do you keep that balance? And how do you mentioned that you use it as a tool. Like, can you give us something practical to explain what that means for those
Sure.
introverts out there?
Sure. Because usually for introverts, we're used to like one-on-one interactions, right? Like we're more, we're not really a fan of, well, I'm gonna say like based on studies or books, introverts, we're not really good with small talk. We want to talk about like the deeper things in life, or we want to break that barrier. And so what I did, usually when I meet my team, I would meet my team maybe for like 30 minutes or so, but I like the idea of having one-on-ones with them, because that means if I do one-on-ones with them, then I might be more comfortable, and you know the concept of mirroring. So if I'm more comfortable, the person who you're speaking with also becomes more comfortable. And so the conversation doesn't stop at hi hellos, but rather what is going on with you? How can I help? How can I support? So that's one way. And then of course on the networking end, where I talked about my colleagues and coworkers, but for, you know, acquaintances, like the people that you are to meet in the future, that, you know, you don't really have any idea, and there's a fun there's you know, it's fun, right? It's fun and it's interesting. So actually with my LinkedIn right now, there's a button that I placed. It's called it says book an appointment, but when you click it, it's actually virtual coffee. So, you know, there are people who just wants to talk to a human being, to use as a sounding board, to exchange to share insights rather, and for simply meeting. And so those virtual coffee, it's a 15-minute call, then that allows me and the other person, the other line, to actually get to know about ourselves and just see where the conversation goes without actually having an agenda. Does that make sense? And I think
Mm,
people, when you place specific expectations, you end up being anxious, or you end up, you know, putting your do's and don'ts. But if you just say, okay, 15 minutes, let's take it where it goes, and we just talk, then both are relaxed. And I think that also creates a more meaningful conversation. So like I said, as an introvert, I know that I'm better with one-on-ones. I'm not saying that I can't do in groups, of course, but I use that knowledge as an advantage to actually get to know someone. And so that's what I've been doing.
mm,
Awesome. Okay.
fascinating.
And then, so then how do you
So,
balance all of that with, you know, because if you're, you know, with all these one-on-one meetings, like you said, they're 15-minute meetings,
Yes.
you know, and then you're on these social media networks, you know, you know, all the different places that we have to be now to communicate. Like, how do you keep it all balanced?
I'm pretty strict with my pauses or breaks. So like let's say for my meeting, so I do have 15-minute break, 15-minute virtual coffees, right? So for every minute, I've actually selected a 15-minute buffer in order for me to recharge, to read something. So if there's another meeting, then it means I was able to not self-care. Self-care is a big word that I usually that I usually do maybe towards the end of the day, but you're able to at least take a breather and relax, process, because that's what we do. We introspect, right? So we need a bit of that time. And then by the time that we get on the second call or the next call, then we're at it again. So to answer your question, Angie, I take breaks. I deliberately set my calendar in a way that I don't over socialize, so to speak. That is important because that way you exercise your boundaries as well. So you have to know when you're pushing the limit versus when you're still within your limits. I practice self-care. When I say I practice self-care, it's normal for us by the end of the day to just want maybe peace and quiet, a long bath, so on and so forth. I listen to my body, and that gives me enough energy to, to start the next day. So those are just a few things I could think of top of mind as to how I balance it. I think it's worth it pays to pay attention with how you feel and what your body feels when you do these things. Because if, like, let's say after a call you feel exhausted, then maybe that's a cue for you, okay, you need to rest, right? But if after an activity you feel energized, then it means, okay, maybe you can still do it because you are still in that level of engagement. So
I love that. Wow.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. How about do you have any specific stories that you could share with us on, I don't know, maybe a team member that you've worked with remote, connected with them remotely and helped one
sure.
another? Yeah.
Well, I think the story I have in mind is the one that happened the most recent. It's not a colleague, but it's a new connection that I now have via LinkedIn. His name is Ivan. So when I connected with him, because there was a post about authenticity, that this is how he gets his message across, and this is how he connects. It's based on authenticity. Well, when I say authenticity, he just shows up as himself, and he basically meet people where they are, which I definitely agree, because that's the easiest, right? That you don't have to pretend, and you just have to show up, and then let's see what you attract, right? And so I sent him a connection request, just telling him that, I enjoyed reading your post. I resonate with it because, I'm an introvert and this is how I feel, so on and so forth. So I basically connected with him through that message. And what he actually did was he sent me a video of actually thanking me for sending a connection request and asking what type of the post do you really like, what's it like where you are, so on and so forth. And I'm like, because that's usually how I would reply to. I would write, like, I would send videos or audios, just up the notch of it rather than a text, because you know there's so much that you can't capture in a text. I mean, that's why emojis are made, right? Because it's to add that little emotion in order for you to paint a picture. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm the type of person who wants to up the notch. I'm not going to settle for the bare minimum. So I would send a video. And that's pretty much what he did. And I'm like, I like this take, because you really made an effort to, show up and say thank you. And that's like, what, 2 minutes of your time. And some people, they're not even comfortable showing themselves, right? So you feel the energy, you feel the effort. And again, mirroring, if you find a person or if you find a connection who is like this, what would you do? Right? It energizes you, right? So that's pretty much what happened. Like, for me, it's like, wow, it's nice to find someone who is kind of, who would do what I would actually do. And I mean, he did what I would do if I were maybe, because that time I wasn't like fixed or anything, but he did what I feel was more to my style, so to speak. And that is a person. And Ivan is like a top voice. I don't know if you know this badge, or like I don't know what you call it, to be honest, in LinkedIn, but I'm not surprised that he is, because like he's putting himself out there and he's really making an effort to know his connections, and that makes a difference, don't you think? It's not just about the numbers when you just connect people or you add. You literally know the people you're connecting with, and you know bits and pieces about them, and that makes the connection more meaningful. And hey, we were able to do it digitally. It's not like we met in a real coffee shop, if you think about it. So I do think that this is a success story, if you ask me, Angie.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. I was thinking, if you were to give one piece of advice to our listeners, who want to grow their networking efforts, what would that be?
I think if I have to like consolidate it, show up, like be out there. And by how do you say that? Like I said, I'm an introvert, and to show yourself out there is, for some people it's a brave thing to do. So for some people it's a norm, but I think that's the first step. So like I told you recently that, so not maybe 2 weeks back, I reinstated my LinkedIn account for reasons. And I feel like it's a muscle, right? Because I'm not, I haven't been using it, but I started being a global ambassador for Women Tech Network, and we had this we had a Women Tech Network conference, and it's virtual. So it was a 3-day event, and I took advantage of that. So there were like thousands of women. We just gathered digitally. We were attending virtual conferences. So you would see there's like rooms, and you could just pick what room you want to attend to. And there's even a section where there's like a 5-minute networking. So you don't really know who you're gonna speak with, but you just join the group and you have like 5 minutes to talk to other people and see where they're at, see how you can help them, see how they can help you. And again, if you show yourself, and if you attend these types of conferences, activities, events virtually, then you have more chances of meeting people who can help you or who you can help. And I think that's the beauty of it, right? So my advice is to be out there, look for these events virtually. And we have a lot of, so that's one. And then we have a lot of tools these days. Like I said, there's LinkedIn, there's Slack, there's Loom. Loom is like the video where you could record and send it to a person, send the link to the person who you probably just connected, or who you would want to connect with. It's more about, it's not just about using the tool, but using the tool to your advantage, right? So it helps. And I think another, not I couldn't say like strategy, because like I said, I like helping out. So whenever I have a new connection, I don't go for what I need from them. I start with what I can offer.
Hmm.
I think that's a one way of easing into the conversation, because it's so easy for us to just take. But if you present yourself as you give, and in my case it's not a hard ask, because I really am, like, I consider myself that, like, I check on how I can support people. This is what I have, even if of course I do have my needs as well. I start off with that, and it goes a long way. And then from there you would hear stories, right? You would hear their stories, because by simply being open, right? And then from there you could strike a conversation, and then from there you end up having virtual coffees, and you don't know what's next. And I think that's the beauty of it as well. So I think, to sum up my answer, show yourself up, basically, and go to these conferences, activities wherein you can meet people, use tools to your advantage. It's not just about having lots of tools. It's not about the quantity of tools you use, but rather the quality.
Hmm.
And then start off by knowing what you can provide, or knowing how you can support the other. So
Great advice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Um,
Yeah.
yes,
Is there
go ahead.
any last comments before we wrap this up? This has been fantastic, Catherine.
Oh, you're okay. So that was for me. So actually, I really enjoyed this conversation. Like I said, remote working is, sorry, not remote working, but building my network remotely is something that, that I just feel like it's natural. That's a general statement, that I feel natural. I feel like I'm in my element every now and then. And so I just want everyone to know that I'm actually in LinkedIn. So my LinkedIn handle is www.linkedin.com/in/Catherine AEC. So that's CATHERINEAC. You could keep in touch with me there. Like I said, my account is open for everyone. I really enjoy just sharing insights, acting as a sounding board to other people, even mentoring some people. And I just like meeting people globally. This is the beauty of being in the digital world. You're not limited to you're not limited to your current location. You could go, like I'm in Sweden right now, and I could have a genuine connection who happens to be in Turkey or in Canada, so on and so forth. So let's use these tools to our advantage. And I do hope that my strategies, my stories inspire you that this can be done. This can be done. And I hope that it also helps you with your business. So
Yeah. And actually, I just want to mention that in this recording, we are in 3 different locations. You're in Sweden, I'm in Denmark, and Angie is in the US. So
Yeah,
yeah, we're
yeah,
right.
truly international call right now.
yeah.
And this is a proof too, if you think about it, like, you know, we're in 3 different locations, but we're able to connect because of something that we enjoy the most. In your case, it's like podcasting, sharing your knowledge, and I pretty much love doing the same thing. And so here we are, all 3 of us.
I love
Yeah.
it. Yay. Well, thank you so
Thank
much for joining
you.
us today, Catherine.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. I really enjoy this conversation, and I really enjoy meeting the 2 of you too. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
likewise.
likewise.
Very cool. Expanding our network with one another.
Yeah,
I
so
love that.
cool.
yes.
It's so fascinating because you never know who knows who, and
Mm,
because as you're talking to someone, they might say something that they need, and you're being a networker, all of us, we can
Right.
point them in a direction like, oh, hey, have you talked to this person, or let me make an introduction here.
yeah.
That's all a part of it too. So
Definitely.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on the show, Catherine. It's been such a pleasure. And thanks for sharing so much, giving so much value to our audience. We really, truly appreciate it. Okay, so let's wrap it up. I'm GITTE.
And I'm awesome, Angie Engstrom. And listeners, keep on listening. Thank you for listening, and keep your momentum. Keep moving forward. And if you want to learn more about what Elite Virtual Stages with GITTE and I do, and how we help businesses scale, you can find us on Facebook as well as the web at elitevirtualstages.com/report to get you a report and a little bit more on what we do for businesses to scale. And once again, Catherine, thank you so much for joining us. I love meeting new people, and you're just a charm. I love this conversation. So thank you
Yeah,
so much for joining us.
absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.